a man clutched a Hong Kong Jockey Club trifecta betting slip. At this point, the results of the first 2 races had perfectly matched the man's predictions. If his calculations for the final race were correct, he would be the sole winner of a grand prize that had been accumulating for a full 17 months. 118 million Hong Kong dollars. Just then, the starting gates burst open and the racehorses bolted out. The moment the horses crossed the finish line, the scoreboard refreshed with the results. The rankings of the 3 horses he had picked were exactly as he had predicted. He had won the 118 million Hong Kong dollar grand prize. But as the entire crowd erupted in cheers, he bypassed the crowded betting windows and took the slip, the most valuable one in all of Hong Kong, and tore it to shreds. The story begins in Las Vegas, USA. A man named Bill, who had just earned his physics degree, was making a killing at various gambling establishments, constantly winning thanks to his mastery of card counting. But at the time, all the casinos in Nevada were already well aware of this card counting technique. Bill's activities were quickly discovered. The major casinos in Las Vegas all blacklisted him. His card-counting career had proven to him that strict mathematical logic could find a profitable opening, even in a casino where the house always wins. But now, having been completely shut out of Las Vegas, he desperately needed a brand new arena, one that wasn't bound by the old rules. In March of 1985, an Australian professional gambler named Alan found Bill and brought him a brand new opportunity, the Hong Kong horse racing market. At that time, the Hong Kong horse racing market had a betting turnover per season that had already reached 10 billion Hong Kong dollars. And unlike betting against the house, here, the player's opponent's model, it was the other bettors and the cognitive biases in the market that created a profit margin that could be precisely targeted. Alan needed someone who was an expert in mathematical modeling, and Bill needed this brand new field to test his ideas. The two of them hit it off immediately. In November of 1985, Bill, carrying $150,000 in startup capital and a portable computer, landed in Hong Kong's Kai Tak Airport. He and Alan rented an apartment in Kowloon and began building their horse racing prediction model. Bill requested and obtained from the Hong Kong Jockey Club 12,000 race records dating back to 1971. He spent 6 weeks using the basic programming language to write the first prediction model. It incorporated 8 core influencing variables, using an algorithm to calculate each horse's true probability of winning. This was then compared against the public odds to determine, in real time, whether to place a bet. In theory, this model could achieve a stable 3% profit advantage in every race, but reality dealt them a heavy blow. 15 consecutive bets were all losses. In less than a month, they had already lost $14,000 of their initial investment. Bill reviewed the code but didn't find any logical errors. The model, which was mathematically flawless in theory, was showing a serious deviation on the actual racetrack. To find the root of the problem, Bill holed himself up at the Happy Valley Racecourse, watching every single race in person. He finally caught what the electronic spreadsheets were missing: a real-world pattern. On a wet track, the racehorses that ran close to the inner rail performed. It was far better than anyone could have predicted. Jockeys who moved from low-stakes races to top-tier championships would always underperform in their first 3 races. And for older racehorses whose performance was declining, their results never dropped off in a straight line. Instead, once they reached a certain age, their performance would suddenly collapse, like falling off a cliff. These were the patterns, hidden in the details of the racetrack, that no one had ever systematically tracked before. And, of course, they never appeared in any of the historical statistics. Bill added new variables to the model, eventually expanding it to 19 core influencing factors. After this new version of the model, the rate at which they lost money slowed down, but it never completely stopped the downward trend. By March of 1986, their cumulative losses had reached $63,000. Alan became more and more doubtful about whether this experiment was even possible, and he questioned Bill many times, but Bill refused to give up. He started working around the clock, analyzing data until the early morning, and then running on just 3 hours of sleep to watch the morning training at the track. But the speed of the model's improvements could never keep up with the speed at which their money was disappearing. Deep in the red from his horse racing bets, Bill, by a stroke of luck, came across an introduction to John Kelly's optimal betting formula. This formula, proven through rigorous mathematical derivation, showed that, in a game of probability, to achieve long-term wealth maximization, the size of a single bet must be directly proportional to your winning edge. If you bet too much, your capital will be swallowed by market volatility. Bet too little, and you waste the opportunity for profit. Bill ran a simulation using their betting data from the past 6 months, and quickly discovered that if they had used the Kelly formula from the very beginning, the team's cumulative losses, just $28,000 was far lower than the current $63,000. That very night, he rewrote the model's betting decision-making module. For this betting game filled with uncertainty, he added strict disciplinary constraints. Only when the model detected a sufficient profit opportunity would it increase the bet size, and a single bet could never exceed 15% of the principal. However, this set of risk management rules was met with strong opposition from Allen. In May of 1986, at the Happy Valley Racecourse in Hong Kong, during one of the races, Bill's team's model calculated that the fair odds for one horse were 7-1. Following the Kelly criterion, the team used just 1,200 Hong Kong dollars from their 87,000 Hong Kong dollar principal for a split bet. If that horse ended up winning, the team would see a single-day profit of 7,200 Hong Kong dollars. This was the first glimmer of profit the team had seen in 8 months. After this victory, the model again identified 2 valid betting opportunities and hit on both of them. That was followed by a dry spell of 12 consecutive races where the model didn't provide any betting signals that met its criteria. The team stuck strictly to the rules and didn't bet a single cent by following the crowd on the floor, a stark contrast to the other bettors who were continuously losing money. By August, the team's account showed a net profit for the first time of 34,000 Hong Kong dollars. The mathematical betting system was officially up and running. After the brief moment of joy, Bill realized that the Hong Kong horse racing market evolved extremely quickly, and the pricing inefficiencies that created profit margins were constantly shrinking. To survive long-term, they had to outpace the market's rate of evolution. To do this, he hired local programmers and veteran race analysts to completely upgrade the database, expanding the variables included in the model to 26, covering the racehorse's bloodline model. In fact, with the horse trainer, their partnerships, track record, the racetrack, gate position influences, and so on, all sorts of multi-dimensional details. At the same time, they upgraded their computer equipment to support the massive amount of data simulation. By the end of the season in December 1986, this model's betting win rate had climbed to 58%. For the entire season, the team made a net profit of 180,000 Hong Kong dollars. They fully returned the principal to their investors, and the remaining profit was split between Bill and Allen evenly. But the huge differences in their personalities led to constant disagreements between the two. Allen accused Bill of being paranoid and conservative, while Bill thought Allen was being too reckless and impulsive. During a race in March of 1987, Allen completely ignored the betting limit of the Kelly criterion, placing a bet 3 times the amount recommended by the model. He lost 30,000 Hong Kong dollars on that single race. This incident caused the long-simmering conflict between them to finally explode. In the end, their partnership of 16 months completely fell apart. Afterwards, Bill, along with the original core members and a new data analyst, reformed the team. He took complete and total control of the betting model they had spent so long refining. In September of 1987, Bill completed a new iteration of the horse racing prediction model. This model would integrate all variables into a single winning probability estimate. After converting that into fair odds, it would then be compared against the public odds on the market. The profitable edge of this system didn't come from some earth-shattering genius insight, but rather from dozens of small advantages that ordinary bettors completely ignored, all coming together to form a powerful collective force. At the start of 1988, Bill's team delivered an extremely impressive performance. In January, they invested 1,200,000 Hong Kong dollars of capital, a net profit of 340,000 Hong Kong dollars. The betting volume in February was increased to 1.5 million Hong Kong dollars in net profit, climbing to 410,000 Hong Kong dollars. This was maintained for 2 consecutive months, a 22% return on investment, which was an unprecedented achievement in the world of gambling. Meanwhile, the Hong Kong Jockey Club's betting pool monitoring system eventually detected the abnormal fluctuations in the market. Immediately, it launched an investigation to track down the high-stakes bettors. After this, Bill immediately set an unbreakable, ironclad rule for the team. He required that all bets must be split across multiple different accounts and betting terminals, with strict limits on single transaction amounts. They absolutely could not leave any traceable pattern of activity. For them, completely concealing their tracks was the core principle for long-term survival in this game. In 1992, Bill decided to integrate neural network technology into their core prediction model. Traditional regression analysis models can only calculate linear correlations between variables, whereas the logic of winning and losing in horse racing is inherently nonlinear. These complex nonlinear correlations were precisely where neural network technology excelled. It could accurately capture the hidden patterns buried deep within massive amounts of data, subtle correlations an ordinary person could never perceive. To this end, Bill specially hired an expert scholar in the field of machine learning. Into the well-constructed neural network model, they fed a full 15 years of complete historical race data. Through continuous self-learning and iterative optimization, the model's race predictions, the winner's accuracy jumped from the original 31% straight to 34%. To outsiders, it was a trivial 3 percentage point increase, but within Bill's betting system, it could directly leverage millions of Hong Kong dollars in extra profits. With a precise model and a perfected betting system came explosive growth in profits. In 1993, the team's annual net profit reached 15 million Hong Kong dollars. By 1994, that number had climbed to 22 million Hong Kong dollars, equivalent to an annual profit of about 2.8 million US dollars. Once he had completely cracked this game that seemed to be all about luck, a new question lay before him. What's next? Bill's answer was crystal clear: to find the ultimate test. A gamble with odds so low that even his computer deemed it virtually impossible to win. At that time, the Hong Kong horse racing's triple trio jackpot had surpassed 100 million Hong Kong dollars and had gone unclaimed for 17 months. The betting rules for the triple trio were extremely strict. Bettors were required to correctly predict the top 3 finishers in 3 consecutive races, and the horse's finishing order had to be an exact match. Calculated by combination probability, the chance of winning this bet was just 1 in 48 million. It was considered a worthless gamble by almost all professional bettors. But Bill's calculation system found that once the prize money exceeded 100 million Hong Kong dollars, as long as he could precisely lock in the high probability finishing combinations, the expected return on this bet would turn positive. To do this, he and his team completed massive simulation calculations, ultimately narrowing down the effective top 3 combinations for each of the 3 races. This corresponded to 3,192 betting slips. Each slip cost only 10 Hong Kong dollars. To avoid triggering the Jockey Club's unusual betting monitoring system, he and his team spent 3 weeks buying in batches, spreading out the purchases across different betting locations. In the end, they covered 89% of the predicted winning probabilities. The total investment was strictly controlled at 28,000 Hong Kong dollars, 2001. On March 18th, the race at Sha Tin Racecourse began right on schedule. In the first race Bill predicted, the top 3 finishers were exactly as he'd calculated. He'd made it smoothly through the first leg. The second race, the horse he'd chosen stumbled slightly at the start, but kept going, fighting hard to catch up and clinching 3rd place by a hair's breadth. The betting combination was saved by a whisker. After 2 legs, the bettors at the track were in a complete frenzy. The insane rush of bets caused the prize pool to skyrocket to 118 million Hong Kong dollars, which actually further increased Bill's potential profit margin. The final race, the ultimate showdown. Bill's calculation system had long since locked in the 3 horses most likely to break into the top 3. Throughout the race, Bill's demeanor remained perfectly calm. He knew what was happening before him wasn't a miracle. It was his prediction model, polished to perfection, facing its final validation. The final race result perfectly matched Bill's prediction. His 3 weighted picks, in the exact order, won him the 118 million Hong Kong dollar grand prize. The stands completely erupted. Everyone was looking for the winner, but Bill quietly packed up his computer and calmly left. He didn't walk towards the prize redemption window. Instead, he took the winning betting slip, tore it into pieces, and threw it into a trash can. For him, proving to himself that it could be done was all that mattered. The prize money was never the goal, claiming it would only expose him. For the man who clung to his anonymity for over a decade, even forcing the competition to change its rules, his true victory was proving that statistics could conquer the chaos of randomness. That behind a seemingly disordered world, there still exist objective laws that can be understood and calculated.